recording now. Oh, Lexi.
And they'll be able to hear me.
Yes, they should be able to hear you.
Silly
You
Lexi.
kill me, Lexi.
I forgot.
Okay. Yep, we can hear you.
Now, how do I start? What do I do?
I'll start it off. I'll say, okay, we have Nancy. Go
Okay.
ahead, Nancy, take it away.
All right.
And then just
And then
back. It's like, back to you, Nancy. Like we're on the news.
So if these don't work, just click down here, forward back.
Oh, over here. Okay.
Yes, but you can also just use the keyboard, so it's up to you.
But we'll get started in a little. I'm going to close this so the sound doesn't mix too much, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened? Can't hear him now. Oh, now I can hear. Okay.
All right, guys, it is noon. Can you hear me, Nancy? I don't think they can hear me. Okay, hang on. My hat's from before. Because our camera's working. Nancy, can you hear me? I'm gonna just run it up. Oh, it says I'm working.
Can anybody hear us?
Okay, just switch to that. Done. So click that again. Click that.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sweet. Oh, hi, Dale.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Okay, so it is noon. We are going to get started. Nancy is going to take it away and talk to you guys about vermiculture. So, Nancy, if you want to go, and just so you know, it is recording. And I do ask if you are not speaking, if you can please mute your microphones. Thank you.
everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, our luncheon,
Is it working? Can you hear?
I don't know. I see this, but I don't know.
Did you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
No.
Okay, I think I have my speaker off. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nancy Donovan. I've been a master gardener this is my 21st year, and I've been doing the vermiculture for close to 10 years. I really have a good time with the worms, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Composting with worms is called vermiculture. Oh, man. Jeanette. Here we go. Why we compost with worms is they just eat and your kitchen scraps, and that way you're not putting that into the landfill. You're recycling everything. They're very, very easy to care for. They like the temperature about like we do, but they will go colder and they will go warmer. Mine are outside, and I'll show you where I keep them here in a minute. They can be left alone for weeks at a time as long as they're moist enough and have enough food. Depending on your size of container is how much food you put in there. The compost is great for your plants. We do have some master gardeners that do keep them in their kitchen. So if you don't put the wrong thing in there, they don't smell, you don't even know they're there. To get started, it depends on how big an area you have. If you live in an apartment, you can do it, or if you have acreage, you can maybe do it in an old refrigerator like mine are. The refrigerator is a great way to recycle a non-working refrigerator because you don't want it to work. The bedding is either lots of shredded paper, wet shredded paper, or sphagnum peat moss. That's a good way to get going on them. The different containers, mine's in an old refrigerator. I've drilled a hole in the side for drainage because I didn't think I could get them too wet, but I did. So I drilled a hole in there, and that way when I put like lots of watermelon or cantaloupe in there, then it's got somewhere to drain and it doesn't drown them. If they are crawling up the side of your container, then you've got them too wet. They're trying to get out. You know, regular earthworms, sometimes after a rain, you'll find them on the concrete. Well, that's what's happened is your soil has gotten so saturated, they have to come up and then they get stuck on the concrete. The larger the container, the easier it is to care for and not to overfeed. But for a small area, the styrofoam is a good way to go. No matter which one you use, you need to leave a little bit of the lid open a little bit so that they can get air, because they do need air. The styrofoam's not as important as the refrigerator because, you know, the refrigerator does seal. This is my refrigerator, and you can tell right down here at the bottom, that's the little spigot. I just took a hole saw and drilled a hole in there and put a piece of PVC and then that little valve on there. I probably didn't need to put the valve, but now that I've done it, it's on there. But I just leave it open all the time, and when it gets when I put too much in there or get it too wet, then the water comes out there. And actually that's really good because then I have some compost tea that I can use on my plants. Let me see if I can. Oh. Jeanette, show me again how I down it where I can. Sorry, everybody. How do I? I want to show everybody how to do this. How I go to just
you. Yeah.
You told me, but I forgot.
You're fine.
Oh yeah.
You closed out of that, so you are good to just stop sharing. So you're not sharing your screen anymore, so now they should just see you.
Okay,
So you can
and then
show.
go back.
I'll
Okay.
just start showing and then I'll do the
All right.
rest for you.
Here is the container that you see the picture of. The bottom one.
There you go.
The bottom one is solid, and you do that so if you get them too wet, then it will have a place to go. The middle one has holes in the bottom for drainage, and I have the third layer because when you get the second layer full of compost, then you put food in the top one and some of the compost and more bedding, and they will come up from this layer to this layer, and then you have separated compost. So that works really well. Since we're right here, let me show you.
I can actually bring this up here, possibly.
Well, they don't like the light, so sometimes it's hard to find them.
Here, let's.
Can you see it?
Yeah, try to bring it a little closer. You can see them in there.
But that's what they look like. They're really fun to have.
Okay. You want to go back to PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Share screen. That's the screen we want. So, yeah,
Okay.
should be able to click back through.
All right. The food that you give them makes a difference with if you have a smell or attract other insects that you don't want. Sometimes food gets pushed back in your refrigerator, or it does mine, and or you're out of town and it gets all mucky and yucky, and a science project is what I call it. And the softer, the more moldy, the better, because worms have no teeth, and that way it breaks down faster. And the smaller the pieces, the better. If you have a bigger container, you can feed them in one end and then feed them in the other end. And that way it kind of equals out. About every 2 weeks or so, you can just check and see if your food's all gone. And if it is, you can add some more. In a bigger container like a refrigerator, even if your food isn't all gone, you can still add some more. Or if you're going to be out of town, you can put quite a bit of food in there. I have a small Tupperware type container, plastic container that I have in the kitchen, and I just put my food scraps in there, and when it gets full, then I take it out to the worms. I know that some people like to put it in a blender and blend it down and make it little tiny pieces, or more of a soup type consistency, and that way the worms can take it in easier. These are some of you can see the bananas are yucky. We have a master gardener that eats a banana every day, and every day her worms get a banana peel, and she does really, really well with them. I say that they're vegan vegetarians, but they like paper. I know that's crazy, but they love paper. And you can tell what they like and what they like better. Because when you go out there, that particular thing is gone, where you know, like an onion or something, they don't like as well. So you'll have onion left and all your paper or cantaloupe or watermelon, all that's gone. They also like tea and coffee, and you just do the whole thing. The tea bag, every once in a while I find staples or the string because I just put it all in there. The coffee filter, everything. If you put meat in there, it will attract flies and things you don't want, and it will smell because it will rot because they do not eat it. And same thing with butters and with oils. I just make sure I don't put any of that in there, and I don't have a problem. Sometimes when I get too wet or I've fed them too much, there'll be flies, and I just put a layer of shredded paper on it, and then they're all gone. No dairy. I say no CDs or credit cards because they're plastic, and I put everything through all my paper through a shredder, and sometimes credit cards or CDs get put in there, and then as I'm separating it to use the compost, I end up with little pieces of plastic, which they're not going to eat. They like to be moist because their bodies are 80 to 85% water. So it needs to be where when you get a handful and kind of squeeze it, you can squeeze a little bit of moisture out of it. Or when you squeeze it in your hand, it sticks together. And that way, you know that it's a good wet consistency. But if you squeeze very much water out of it, you've got it too wet. So to solve that problem, you just add paper. But if you add paper when it's a little bit dry, the paper will absorb the water, and then it's too dry, and you can make your worms compost because they will die if their bodies dry out. Starting with just a few is good because they reproduce really quickly. Mine survived this last winter in the cold winter that we had. I have them on the north side of my house because it's more shaded in the summer there. And there was ice on the top of it. And after it thawed, they were fine. So they will survive when it gets that cold. They don't like the light, so you need to keep your refrigerator or the container you have them in needs a lid on it, and that way they can get down. When you do feed them, you need to dig a hole and put the food under the bedding. That way they like it down where it's dark and cooler. Again, I've put my compost in one end and then the other. I have and I brought it, but I want to switch back again. I have this was a thing that you cook on the grill with, and it got rusted. So I use it to separate my worms. I just prop it up on these little pieces of wood here in the bed, and I put compost in there. And since they don't like the light or the dryness, they'll drop back down through the holes, and then you have separated compost. The liquid that comes out of if you get it too wet, is sometimes called black gold, and it was really, really good for your plants. You can make a compost tea. When you separate it, you can just put it in like a 5-gallon bucket and put water in it and stir it up good and water your plants with that. Or you can make compost tea and like fill a 55, or I guess they're 45-gallon trash can with water, and then put compost in a mesh bag and molasses and then an air stone, and that makes a really good compost tea. And there's the separating again. Sometimes the baby worms, and you can see them right here that are circled, you think that they're just little root hairs, because you can grow things in here, because I've had avocados and different things grow because I put the seed and everything in there, and the worms will eventually eat all of it. This is what the inside of my refrigerator looks like. So it's not extremely deep, but and then I keep a little shovel in there so I can dig on one end and bury the food and then cover it back up. And you can see in the middle there's an avocado seed that I had put in there because I love avocado. Some of the problems you might encounter is an odor, and you just add paper. And too wet, the gnats or flying insects sometimes come in there. Sometimes I get little earwigs or roly-polies in there, and they just help break it down. Several years ago, I got soldier flies in mine, and I didn't know what they were. And so I pulled them all out, and I should have left them because they are really good to help break down and make compost also. Lately, I have found that there are people that actually just use the soldier fly larvae to make their compost because they do work really quickly. The benefits of composting is you're not putting food in the landfill. You're suppressing fungal diseases when you use a more natural fertilizer. And you're reducing your chemical costs because it's a free thing. All you do is add water. You're already buying all their food with their groceries that you buy. There's no groundwater contamination because it's all natural. It improves your soil structure. It would take quite a bit of vermiculture, as it's called, to like put in a garden, but for your pots and containers, it works really well. And plants grow much better when you use compost. That's all I've got. Let me see if I can get back to Jeanette. What do I do? Now I've messed up. Here we go. Are there any questions? And if you do want some worms after you get your bed, don't share it. Okay. And the questions, do they? Oh, we've got two hands. I guess that.
Some hands raised, but no chat.
Oh,
Where's the best place to get the worms?
To get worms, once you get your container, if you will email me, I will meet you somewhere and bring you some worms, because now you know how to take care of the worms. I will be more than glad to bring you some worms. My email address is wormladytx@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll put it in the chat, and then Jesse, you can unmute if you need to. Worm Lady TX.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and Nancy's worms are awesome, y'all. So, my question, Nancy, is, so as you know, I have vermicompost and I love them. They are so great at eating through food, and I love that it's not just going to waste in the trash can. So I feel like the actual compost, I'm curious if I'm not feeding them enough. I read something that says like give them a cup a week, but I don't feel like they make compost really quickly. Like I haven't had to add more space for them yet, and I've had them for a while now. So should I just feed them more often, or how do I get to the point where I actually have
What kind of container do you
compost?
have them in?
I have them in one of those worm farms from Amazon. It's like a tower, and you
Oh,
just add a new level once
I
they
would
fill it
feed
up.
them
But
more.
they haven't filled up a bin for me.
Oh, yes, I would feed them more. Yeah,
So I
I
read something
definitely
that
would
said
feed them
like
more. And
if you
maybe cut your, whatever it is, cut it up in smaller pieces.
okay. How often? I mean, do you feed yours daily, like just all the dinner scraps, or?
No, I have a container, and when it gets full, I just take it out there. I take it out and feed them then. And it's probably maybe once a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes
I'll give it a go.
it's ever a couple of days, or if I have, I cut up a watermelon yesterday, and so I would take all that out there, and it won't take long, and it'll all be gone.
Awesome. Okay, I'll just feed them more often.
You can kind of tell. You feed them, and every few days check, and if it's all gone, then you know that you need to feed them more.
Okay.
If it's gone within a day or two, then feed them more, or if it's nearly all gone, feed them more.
Yeah. Okay.
All righty. Citrus peels, I don't put citrus in mine, especially lemons and limes, because they are so acidic, and I think that it hurts their environment, their bodies, to have that much acid in there. These containers that I showed you are just a styrofoam container, like from, I think I saw them at Stripes or at the dollar store. They're like $3. My big container is an old refrigerator, and so it's pretty large. But I made it where it was like 10 inches deep, maybe, in my refrigerator to start with. So that way they had plenty of room not to dry out and and to be able to get to the food. Is there any other questions? I know I kind of went through that quickly. If anybody would like the video of this so they could go back and listen to it a little slower, if you would just email back on the link that you got, I will get that, and I will send you the whole recorded video of it.